I'm Mitchell Hood with On Point Broadcasting, and today we're in studio. We're going over the wonderful anniversary of Sandlot. And as I was growing up as a kid, I remember the movie debuting in 1993, and approximately, I think I was around 12 or 13 years old at the time. And me and my brother went to see the movie. It was my father was stationed at Bergstrom Air Force Base here in Austin, Texas. And so when we saw the movie, it was a spectacular event that brought a lot of imagination and hearts and minds to a lot of children at that time. And our thing was baseball, and we played a lot of baseball in parks and various places throughout the Air Force Base. So we're broadcasting live on Point Broadcasting, and in studio we have David Mickey Evans. He's the director of the Sandlot. Um, and so there's going to be a special screening tonight, Round Rock Express hosting this special event. Uh, so it's going to be gates open at 6:30 at Round Rock Express. At 6:30 at Round Rock Express, and Texas, tickets will go on sale around 7:05. So today, David Mickey Evans,
Yes, sir.
this was your first directorial debut on The
Mhm.
Sandlot.
Mhm.
And what inspired you to develop this extraordinary film?
Well, couple things. One, I got unceremoniously fired off my first studio directing gig, so I had to have another movie or another script that I could go out with to try to get to try to sell it, and get it made and actually direct it. And so I needed something that was contained. In other words, was not a big budget at all, and had very few, or not, if not very few, not a lot of locations, so that it wasn't going to be a very logistically crazy production. And as I was thinking about that, I had one of those aha moments as a writer, and it was, I thought back to when my little brother and I lived on this street in the northeastern section of the San Fernando Valley in Southern California. There were all these kids on the street, kind of like what you said. They'd play baseball all the time. Well, they didn't like us very much, and they never let us play. So one day they hit a ball over a brick fence, a brick wall, and behind that wall in that backyard was literally a dog named Hercules. It wasn't, a mastiff like that. It was, I don't remember what kind of dog it was, shepherd mix or something, and it was vicious. It was treated badly. It was very vicious. So they told my little brother, go over there and get that ball and throw it back, and then you can play with us. And he says, oh, okay. So over he went, and he got the ball, and the dog bit his leg and tore him up really bad. And I thought, okay, if I turn all those guys into heroes and they're friends, and that ball is worth like, $1 million, that's a movie. And so that's where it came from.
All right. And I like the scene where when the kids when the ball went over the fence and showed the dog. That was kind of like their adventure
Mm-hmm.
or curiosity to what was going on with this particular neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the time when we was growing up, we always had those same particular adventures where, like, we throw the ball over the fence, what was going to happen, or what was that kind of surprise. So what kind of gave you the idea of that kind of spontaneous look of the dog, or how was the direction of it?
The deal with that was that the movie is really a movie about friendship. And it's also a coming-of-age movie. Because everybody, it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, there's always that summer where you sort of leave childhood behind and you become, an adolescent or a young man or young lady. Okay, that is that summer for these guys in the movie. And after Benny jumps over that fence, that's the big metaphor. He's taking the big step into adulthood or adolescence, leaving childhood behind. And the childhood part of it is most of the rest of the movie before that event, where when they see the dog, they don't just see the dog. They're seeing a monster. They're absolutely convinced, because of the point of view they have as still being children and still in that child's world, that this is a terrifying beast, a monster, And then the idea that Benny jumps over that fence and he is confronted with reality, and it's a whole lot worse than anything they could have imagined up to that point in the movie. And I always had that in my head when we were writing it, that I had to make sure that really was the theme and the focal point of the story, and I think it works pretty good.
Okay, and you said that was like the focal point of that summertime, where the kids go out and adventure, and at the same time they're actually have a time where they can remember and reminisce of that time. And so this is like the reflection of the 20th anniversary of this particular film. And this was, I think, in this film kind of made, this film made a landmark in a lot of children's lives even at that time, and it still does now.
I'm finding that out, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because a couple of weeks ago, me and my son sat down and watched the film, and he was...
How old's your son?
He's 17 years old.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And so he's coming to an age where he's getting the football and learning and training. And the same thing in this film with these children here, because they want to have some kind of hope and dream of where they want to become like a baseball player one day, or or something of that extraordinary thing. And so once again, they're going to have a live special screening tonight at the Dell Diamond, located in Round Rock, Texas. And so I encourage everybody to come out tonight and check out this special screening. And also David Evans is going to have signed signatures, and he's going to have some more highlights of the film. And so you created a extraordinary team to put this movie together, especially the screenplay. And how long did it take for the screenplay to come together, and what was the ideas, and even like the location? Was in Salt Lake City, in Dodge Stadium.
Yeah, I think we probably wrote this, and it wrote some things right quickly, some things do not. I mean, I finished something just a little while ago that took me 22 years to finish. This, I think, took about 5 weeks to get it to where the script was very, very tight and quite good. And yeah, then it was a matter of assembling a team of people that would understand what I was trying to communicate, because there's a lot of very making movies is 1,000 little decisions a day, right? And it's sort of like it's a jigsaw puzzle. Only I can see the finished picture, and I have to help everybody else who is the production designer, the director of photography, everybody, costume designer, the actors, see that whole picture one little piece at a time. And sometimes you got to make those pieces up as you're going along. And I mean, I wanted this movie very much to look like a memory, like you said, and I think it does. It takes place in '62, and it occurred to me that, look, I said to the director of photography, Anthony Richmond, I want it to look like an old Kodachrome slide. You remember those the slides that you put in the carousel projector and it would project it up on the thing? And so I got a bunch of those from my childhood, and I said, let's take a look at these, and we printed pictures from them and stuff. And I said, the colors, this is a little bit too bright, but, it's an advertisement for today. The colors are all washed out, not too bright, because film technology at that time, when you were taking pictures, it did not come out like today, with your DSLRs and your what is it, Lictos cameras, the ones that are those light field things that are crystal super HD sharp. It wasn't like that. So everything from that to the wardrobe was to be a little bit washed out, to give it the sense that you're watching a memory, that this is part of your life and stuff. And I've had many, many people come up to me on this tour for all these baseball stadiums that I'm doing, telling me what you just said. I had a woman come up to me in New Jersey, and she says, and I love this is how they usually start. They go, Mr. Evans, you don't understand. And I go, okay, what do I not understand? She says, it's not just a great movie. I said, thank you very much. She goes, it's not just that it's, the greatest baseball movie ever made. I go, well, thank you very much. She goes, it's what the movie means to us. I says, okay, well, what does it mean to you? And she had her kids there. She had 6 kids. And she says, those kids in the movie are like my kids' brothers. They taught them good lessons, entertained them, played with them, showed them how to have a good time, got them out of the house so that they're not doing this with the video games and all that sort of thing. And when that lady said that to me, it became very clear how important this movie is to people, and it's a very big responsibility, and I'm incredibly grateful that it ended up like that.
And the way that you had your, the way that you depicted the cast, especially James Earl Jones, was one of the extraordinary actors, even at that time, is brought out how, how the kids was trying to venture into the backyard. And so, like, even in filmmaking, which I really do love, is how you can depict the character, and how, like, even through the story, you can fit each of the characters in the right place. And so, how did you come across these extraordinary actors, and how they make sure they fit into the picture that you wanted to proclaim?
It's a really good question, and the answer is that it's very, very difficult. I'll start with Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones is not just perhaps the greatest actor of his generation. He's one of the greatest actors that ever lived. I mean, God love him. And he's an extraordinarily nice man. He's the nicest guy you'll ever meet in your life. He really is. And on the Sandlot, I had been shooting with all the kids for about 2 weeks. And so, it would be like, all right, guys, take 1, take 2, take 3. It's not quite right yet. Let's take 4. And when Mr. Jones came on the set, I only had him for 1 day. I did everything with him in 1 day. And he came on. He looked at the script. He goes, okay, I'm good. I'm ready. Action. And we cut. And I'm about to say, I don't need to have a take 2. He's perfect. It's just like, what? Why? I said, oh, thank you very much. We'll just move along and do the next scene. He's that extraordinary. He really is. With these guys, we saw thousands and thousands and thousands of young people. And the difficulty with this movie was not only did we have, I wanted to find honest and authentic. In other words, not precocious, because you get a lot of that in Hollywood, little kids that moms want them to be actors and stuff and push them along, and they become very precocious and phony. I wanted real kids that had great personalities, that were honest, that I thought I could work with. And so you could find somebody like that, but just because they were good didn't mean they were going to fit in an ensemble. Yes. They had to look right in this ensemble. To me, this is the greatest ensemble in any movie that has ever been made. I mean, and I'm not saying it just because I made it. It really is. I mean, look at that. Look at those guys. So I found, the first kid I ever found was Mike Vitar, Benny. He was the first kid I ever interviewed on. He's great. He's perfect, But I had to wait a couple of months until I could find all the other kids that I thought were going to be good, and then put them all together in a room and look at them and take pictures and see how they looked. And some of them worked out and some of them didn't. So after a few months, we had 8. And the only character I didn't have was Ham, the catcher, He's got a smart mouth.
Yeah.
And Sherry Rhodes, a great casting director, God rest her soul, said, I finally found the kid. I said, okay. I drove down there and I met Pat Renna. We just had a few lines and stuff. I said, okay, let's go get the other kids together, go play some baseball, see how you guys look. They look perfect. I took a few pictures and looked at the pictures, and that looks good. And they put them all on a plane that day, and we went to Salt Lake City to shoot it there. And the reason I shot it in Salt Lake City is because we wrote it to take place in the San Fernando Valley, Southern California, which in Los Angeles is a desert, quite frankly, surrounded by purple mountains, the San Gregorios. The only other place in North America that looks like that is Salt Lake City. It's at a higher elevation, and it has purple mountains, the Wasatch Mountains. So it's an absolute double. It's perfect. And the reason we shot it in Salt Lake City is because you get more for your money there in those days. It was, we couldn't, there's no way to afford to shoot in Los Angeles. Yeah. And so that's the story of that.
And so, once again, we're interviewing David Evans, and this is his first directorial debut with Sandlot. And they're going to do a special screening tonight in Round Rock, Texas, at the Dell Diamond. So this is be a good scene for all you baseball fans. And the time, gates open at 6:30, and so hope to see y'all there tonight and I'm looking forward to try to go out there myself with my kids. So, what is one of your greatest achievements that you have done through this film that really captures the audiences? I mean, one of the extraordinary things that I'm a film lover myself. I love to go to the movies, sit
So do
there
I.
and just kind of be with that character. You know, especially like when they're about to just go into like a particular, you know, place or extraordinary thing. And so like one of the scenes that still kind of captivate me was the scene with the dog, you know, because when they throw the ball over, the dog comes over the fence.
Yeah.
And so that kind of brought me to like a venture, like, come on, this
Uh-huh.
what's behind the fence, you know?
Yeah.
And so even during those times when they're like growing up, they kind of were finding themselves, like they're like a kind of like an identity, like, man, one day I want to do this, you know, or that, you know. And so so what was one of the greatest achievements that or the essence of the film that kind of just made it your prime landmark?
There's a couple of things. I'll give you an example. This tour that we're doing, my friends at Fox Home Entertainment have and PF Flyers, because this actually is this is the 20th anniversary of the Sandlot. It's also the 75th anniversary of PF Flyers this year, believe it or not. And so those two companies, in conjunction with each ballpark that we go to, we donate a great percentage of the ticket sales and stuff to build local sandlot or baseball fields, either in urban areas where there isn't too much green space, like maybe there's not so many parks that kids can go to and stuff like that, or like we did in St. Louis, we went to a place with a company called Task, which is team activities for special kids. And we built them a very special Little League field. And it had artificial surface, but underneath it had some absorbent material. So these kids who have physical difficulties and handicaps and disabilities, they can actually go and play baseball with each other, have teams.
Nice.
And if they fall down or something like that, they're not going to injure themselves, which is very important. And so I introduce it, and everybody's there, and there's all these kids, some have crutches, whatever their difficulties are, they're there, but they're smiling like you can't believe. They're so happy that they have this baseball field because they weren't ever able to play on a regular one.
Nice.
And so the lady that ran the organization, she said this, and it made me cry. And she says, every kid needs a friend. Every kid needs to play on a team. When you're a special needs kid, you almost never get to play on a team, and sometimes you don't have a single friend. And because of this baseball diamond now, our kids with special needs have friends, and they get to play on a team.
Nice.
Okay? So the thing that I think is the most important thing about The Sandlot is that it's a movie about friendship. It's a movie that has a bit of a, look, it wasn't like I sat down to write a moral fable or to teach a lesson, but it does do that.
Yes.
None of those kids want Scotty to play because he's a doofus, he can't play, he can't throw. But Benny, the best player of all of them, right, the guy in real life who would probably be the bully, is not the bully,
Yeah.
He's the guy who says, no, I'm going to teach you. I'm going to include you. Just because you can't play now doesn't mean you won't be able to play in about 10 seconds when I fix it, okay? And that's movie magic. So that idea of friendship, I think, is the most important thing in this movie.
And it's a good thing that you're saying about friendship, because that would draws like a bond with each other.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Where it just creates long-lasting memories for a lifetime, and then you can able to come back many years later, and just like you were saying, contribute to something that's dear to your heart.
I agree. I mean, what are we ultimately when we leave this world?
Yeah.
Memories in somebody else's head.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's true.
And this is this wonderful. I'm very proud of it. Little sort of fictional piece of history that sits right there in 1962, but never gets old. And I had a man in Springdale, Arkansas, Mike Heiderscheit, nice man. He was a grandfather, a big guy, and he bought 12 of the 20th anniversary DVDs, whole stack.
Wow.
And so he comes over, he goes, please sign this for me. And he says, please sign this for my wife. He says, these are for my children. He goes, these are for my grandchildren. And those are for my great-grandchildren.
Wow.
So that's what the movie means to people. It's a memory that's so important and so fun and means something so much to them that they hand it down generation to generation to generation. I mean, I've done that with a few films in my life to my kids and stuff, you know, like A Christmas Story or, you know, Charlie Brown Christmas. They're usually holiday films. Mm-hmm. This is almost the only film that's not a holiday film that's like that I can sort of think of. I mean, look, I'm a movie lover as much or more than the next guy. Yeah. And I have thousands and thousands and thousands of movies in my library. I mean, that I watch over and over. But just for pure fun and identification, like what you were saying, mm-hmm. Somebody asked, why do you think it lasts so long? Why do you think everybody likes it? And I said, well, because you either were one of those kids, yeah, or you wanted to be one of those kids, you know? And I was sort of in between, you know? I wasn't one of the cool kids. I wanted to be, but I was definitely one of these scrappy guys, you know, who didn't have a Little League uniform, you know? So, yeah, it's still, of all the films I've made, it's my favorite.
All right. And we're here with David Evans, director of debut of The Sandlot, the 20th anniversary. And it's going to be a special screening tonight at the Dell Diamond in Round Rock, Texas. Gates open at 6:30. So try to get there early. And David Evans is going to be signing autographs and answer any questions about the movie. And it's good to have you today, sir. And I really enjoyed this time talking to you about Sandlot. And do you have any other things to mention or
come on out. This is going to be great. I think this is I'm doing this on tour. It's the greatest summer job I've ever had, except for directing this movie, which I directed in the summer. Is I get to travel around for 6 months all over the United States to like 25 different ballparks, and I think this is my 7th or 8th one that I've done. And yeah, I've got great stories. I'll answer any questions you have about the movie. I'll have a trivia contest usually, and I give away really cool posters. Also other posters. If you remember the famous photograph in the beginning of the movie that's hanging on the wall in the announcer's booth, I took that photograph on the last day of production after I had yelled, "Cut, that's a wrap, we're done." So I got the guys together and I took that photo. Well, I've blown that up into big posters. And on the top it says 20th anniversary. On the bottom, one of them says forever. One of them says you're killing me, Smalls. And one of them says, my personal favorite, legends never die. Okay, and I have t-shirts like that and all kinds of cool stuff. What's the strangest thing I've ever signed at one of these events? A lady said, please sign my baby. So I signed her baby. You know, it was kind of cool. But yeah, it's a great time. You get to see the Sandlot in its natural habitat, right? A baseball. I can't tell you how many people over 20 years have said, why aren't you showing this movie in a baseball stadium? Mm-hmm. Well, we are. So come on out. And again, a good portion of the proceeds and stuff go to charity. So it's a good event. I mean, you know, other than watching a ball game. Actually, you know what? This might actually be better than watching a ball game in a ballpark. Watching the Sandlot in a ballpark. I don't know. Well, I'll leave it to you, but you got to come out. Okay.
All right. And thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it very much.
All right. And this is Mitchell Hood with On Point Broadcasting, broadcasting live. And once again, come out to the Dell Diamond tonight. Gates open at 6:30. And the Dell Diamond is located Round Rock, Texas. And this is going to be a special screening of the 20th anniversary of The Sandlot. So thank you very much, and see you at the movies.